Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to another edition of APAC Dialogue. We have with our guest today Dr. Pratik Ghosh, who is heading the digital transformation for SCS Tech. Welcome, Dr. Ghosh, to today's show.
Thank you so much,
And
Sudhir.
uh, and very briefly, APAC Dialogue is run by APAC News Network. We are a media organization headquartered out of Noida in India, and with a pan-India focus and even beyond India and overseas markets. We focus on technology deployment across government, education, BFSI, healthcare, manufacturing, enterprise, and the startups, the SMEs, and the likes. So today's discussion, we would like to have an update on SCS Tech and what's the road map going ahead. So, Dr. Ghosh, my first question today would be if you can take our viewers through a little bit talk about the genesis of SCS Tech and then take us through the updated portfolio of products and services that are there that you have. Over to you, Dr. Ghosh.
Good afternoon, everyone. SCS Tech, to brief you out, it's a Mumbai-based company, and it started in 2010. And we started with doing IT infra and IT infra related projects. But over a period of time, we moved into the digital solutions because just being IT infra company, lot many people were doing the same things, and it was not very interesting loan things to do. That we buy things, buy hardware, and just plug it into the customer's base. So it was in 2017, 16, 17, 18 onwards that we started adding a lot of digital solutions to our portfolio. So when we talk about a large project, or a government sector project, or a PSU project, typical tenders would have a component of hardware, a component of software, and a lot of IT related resource work, be it development or implementation and maintenance of the same. So that was a portfolio we started working on, where we had a good connections with the hardware. We made a lot of connections with the software solution companies, and we also created an in-house software development team to create all the interfaces for these projects. So we are into central monitoring system. We are into data center, command and control centers for smart cities, for large projects which require data to be aggregated into a common space. And once the data is aggregated, we run our analytics, dashboards, visualization tools on top of it to give the meaningful insights to the respective departments.
Okay, thank you. So, just wanted to understand one thing. You mentioned you have certain in-house developed applications also, and then you are working primarily data center management and the central monitoring applications. So, how would you look at your profile as a company? Is it a system integrator working with certain solution providers and hardware OEMs, or are you working as a more a standalone software solution provider yourself?
We are more into something which is new concept like digital transformation, which is not just the hardware or the software, but to address the solution or a requirement that the client has. So that solution also requires us to make sure that the company has a culture or its resources are ready to adopt those changes. So our process starts with finding the need of a client or at the various levels. So be it at the operating level, be it at the middle management level, be it at the senior management level. It's very easy for any company to give a hardware and a software combination and say go and use it. But if the people are not ready to use it, or it's not that user friendly, then the entire thing fails as a whole. So that is where we do a complete requirement analysis, starting from the resources, speaking with each and every level of the people, and finding interfaces where the solution or a hardware based solution can fit into their requirement. So in that, if you say we are a large system integrator who has good connections with the mainstream hardware and software companies, we are software development companies to develop softwares which are interfacing between these softwares or a market driven software.
Okay, if I may rephrase this slightly differently, say and ask you two or three main points, which are your unique differentiators against, say, the likes of an L&T, or even the Wipros and TCSs of the world, or the 3i Infotechs and those sort of companies. Uh, what would be two or three of your unique differentiators you would like to highlight?
See, if we talk about unique differentiators, uh, we are driving based on the customer's business. So, first and foremost, we start with a very premise of doing a consulting kind of activity where we are working with the client to find out what each and every level requires. So, we are hardware and software agnostic. We are not making hardware, we are not making software as in the large software domains, ERP or software like that. We are a software company which is primarily into the interfacing artificial intelligence layer. So we are not selling a solution or a hardware which is market driven, which a main large system integrator will do, because most of the large system integrators, they are hardware manufacturer or large scale software developers. So we are agnostic to both software and hardware components. So if a client has a requirement of a hardware coming from X company versus Y company, we are open to it. So the fitment is something what makes us different. That we don't want to sell our hardware. If the fitment is good for that hardware, we will sell it. If the fitment is good for that software, we will sell it. If the fitment is good for that communication layer, we will do that. So that is where we are different.
Got it. So now another point is you mentioned in some cases you're working with the smart cities. So overall, I would like to understand from you which are the domains or verticals where you witness the maximum traction, and if you can briefly mention the use cases of these verticals.
Okay. Uh, I would like to say in the beginning that I wouldn't be able to provide the names of the client because we are doing government or PSU projects. So there are certain things which are like under the non-disclosure agreements with them. But in principle, if you look, a smart city is basically a combination of lot of hardware, software processes that go into it to get a unified dashboard kind of thing where if you see like if we talk about say waste management, if we talk about traffic, if we talk about surveillance, if we talk of mapping of the city, if we talk about fire brigade, police department, over a period of time these are all the services which needs to be integrated in a smart city portfolio. So we are a company which are working towards giving those platform. So a lot of the departments today might have already working software and hardwares. We don't want them to change that. So what we do is we will tell them that you already have these things. We can interface it on the platform. And there will be a lot of departments which don't have. So they will be coming up with new requirements. So some of them are market ready things. So we integrate the entire thing. We run a complete layer of data visualization, dashboarding, analytics on top of it, and prepare the complete analytics and reportings for these client of ours.
So, which are some of the smart cities which are referenceable?
We have done for a lot of them, but giving names because we are still working on a lot of them. So giving name will be difficult. But in Maharashtra, we have done it for a couple of smart cities in Maharashtra. We have done in Bihar.
Maharashtra, Bihar
Yeah.
are some of the smart cities. No, I was asking only the referenceable, obviously. And beyond the smart cities, even you mentioned PSUs. What sort of work you are doing, and if you can indicate which sort of PSUs?
For large scale power sector, we are doing complete central monitoring system or ICCC kind of projects where all the units of the power sector can be combined into a single monitor system in the headquarters. The analytics run on each level of the power units, giving them performance parameters, giving them optimization opportunities that are there in the plant, giving them diagnostic services, statistical methods to give you the root causes as well as the predictive maintenance analytic data to these clients. And then these all the units can be then combined into a central headquarter level where they can do benchmarking across their fleet, so unit 1 against unit 2 or a location 1 against location 2. What were the best practices in location 1 for which the plant was running good, which can be adopted to a location 2 or a unit 2? So these are the kind of things we are doing. For transmission distribution sector, we are also doing complete cyber security of the networks because most of the transmission lines or distributions, if you know, are prone to hacking, which can lead to a grid loss or a complete failure of that state power. So we are doing a complete revamping of cyber security so that the cyber and cyber physical threats can be avoided.
Okay, one for the power generation companies. First, come to that part.
Right,
You mentioned now this power generation company again. They are using different sources for generation, and there are different locations. And since you are doing predictive analytics, you mentioned on that. So the data that you are gathering is very disparate,
right.
and some of the sources of the data. um how do you ensure the authenticity of the sources? Because unless the disparate data gathered is not completely authentic, you won't be able to do much predictive analytics on that. So, how do you
Right.
ensure that happening?
Right, you are very right in telling those things. What we do, the data in power sector or most of the government sector, if you see, they have a complete closed loop network. They don't send their data out on the cloud or to the public domain. So first, the data is within the system coming from their SCADA network or a digital control system DCS network. So data is coming from their own plant. So the authenticity of data is not an issue for us. Yes, there are digital hicks in the data sometimes, like there may be a loss of data or gap in data. So those are the places where we run our either statistical methods like regression or some methods which fills in those gaps in a meaningful way so that the gap is plugged in and the data looks like a contiguous data. So data is first cleansed. It is seen that the data is running in a proper manner and a timestamp is proper. And that is when, after that, do we start our analytics tools to run on those. So data we
Okay.
can aggregate at 5 minutes, 15 minutes bucket, 1 hour buckets, 24 hours buckets, 7 days buckets. So those are up to us to see which aggregated data is the best data set for us.
Okay, so in some cases, some of the areas that you mentioned in these use cases, there are different applications, lot of solution provided. Like even for some leakage leak, there are certain applications, and so as you mentioned earlier, there might be even in that whole life cycle of the generation different applications run by different kind of solution providers. So how is that integration, overall integration happening? How are you ensuring that? And also for the transmission and distribution companies, you mentioned about the cyber security. So cyber security, even they might have other security solution providers also for some other applications or aspects. Again, that question of integration, how are you ensuring that integration?
See, normally, if we talk about data integration, that is a layer of integration which are normally taken care at the time of designing the DPR. So, DPR is done by the client, vendors, as well as expert. It can be a large top five consultant or a consultant who are expert in those fields. So, for generation companies, there are experts in generation companies. So, they understand the process. Then there are people like us who understand how to integrate and interface those datas, and then the client who tells out what kind of data sets they have, the disparate data sets. So the entire thing is first understood that okay, our data is coming from SCADA, our data is coming from DCS, our data is coming from say a Excel file, which is a old system, or a database system, which is a legacy system. So we first design a document which says data available today are in these formats. We need to first capture these data into a common data format. So once the common data format is ready with us, this is the data format which goes into our analytics tool. So we just can't push different kind of data into the analytics. Even if you see the big data scenarios which takes clustered, unclustered data or structured, unstructured data, various kinds of data, variety of data, various sizes of data, even they have to first come to a format which is common, which goes into the analytics for them to run it.
Got it. And the second part for the transmission and distribution companies, integration with the other cybersecurity solutions.
That is fairly easier to do in terms of the protocols, because most of the cybersecurity companies or most of the hardware controllers, they were using industry specific standards which are common across most of the vendors. So from protocol point of view, we don't face any issues because the means of sending data, means of sending the logs and all is common. So once we do the designing, we know what kind of log file we are getting it. So during the designing of say a CM solution or a cybersecurity operation center, we know the all the firewalls, all the routers, all the logs that we are going to get. So it becomes fairly more of a time consuming or a hardware configuring, software configuring issue than to know how to get the data, because it is a well defined data sets.
Great. Thanks. So, apart from the power sector, which other PSUs you are working with?
We are working with solid waste management systems, PSUs working on solid waste management. We are working with municipal corporations. We are working with, we have done the largest disaster management system for Mumbai, one of the largest. We have done one of the most modern intelligent power plant for Maharashtra. Again, these are few clients which I can't name because the work is still going on. We do oil and gas sector, but not solutioning for midstream and upstream and all, but the entire enterprise architecture, cyber security, and the AI ML part.
Okay. So beyond smart cities and PSUs, which are the other verticals that you are working with?
We work purely on government and PSU projects. We don't do any
Okay.
private projects.
Okay. And now coming to more the business aspect, what sort of go-to-market model you follow, and what are the initiatives there?
Sorry, your voice crack. What are the?
No, I'm saying what are the go-to-market strategy that you follow, and under those, what are the GTM initiatives that you have been undertaking?
See, for go to market, like I said, we do government and PSU projects. So our entire working starts once there is a RFP, NIT, or a tender that is coming up. So we have a software development team which is producing a complete disaster management solution, incidents and disaster management solution. So for that, the go-to-market thing is that wherever there is an incident, so be it a fire department, be it police department, be it disaster management centers, be it a PSU where internally they want to take care of all the disasters that can be there in terms of both physical as well as cyber. So in those places, we adopt and present our solution. We do a lot of proof of concepts to these clients of ours to tell them and show them that before, without this system, what were their disasters and how well they were handled, and what were the advantage after this was implemented. So in terms of, say, uh, speed, in terms of efficiency, the disaster that was managed, this, because it is a AI/ML and a data driven thing, the entire thing is being stored. So 6 months or 1 year down the line, we can give them from this the best practices that were there. So just to give an example, for example, there are 10 fire departments, each having their own vehicles, own resources. So one department did X thing and could handle the entire incident in Y time, and similar incident when it happened somewhere else, it was not handled. So what best practices we can tell that station A did these things and it helped. So why not station B try to adopt those things?
Here's one question. What has your experience been, especially the for the smart cities? You know, the smart cities, it's typically this large, the big five consultants who normally work with them. But other than that, normally the smart cities themselves
Hmm.
normally don't have CIOs or very digital transformation driver internally. Basically, so when you are conversing with them or interfacing with them, how has your experience been, and what do you sort of actions take? What sort of actions to inculcate that take awareness among the smart cities and municipal corporations in these bodies?
Right. So the things have changed. If you see the new smart city committees, they have some or other experts from all fields that are going into the smart city. So if it is waste management, they have people from waste management expertise. For power, for traffic, everybody, there is at least some expert, either in-house or provided by the big four or the consultant who is prepared drafting their RFP or the entire project. So we do the IT part of it or the digital part of it. So we normally interact with people who have fairly good knowledge about the IT part of it. Only gap that they have, they may not have the latest tools and technology awareness till now, which we try to bring from the market and show it to them or present to them. That for this X work, you are having a benchmark, which is this product, but this product has a lot of new features which have come out, and this Y product is something which is fitting the bill today. So if you want, you should take the features of these, mix it with your feature and put it in the RFP. So that is how the RFP is developed. Even the smart city RFP, if you see the big fours or the top consultants, they take a lot of time because they interact with the vendors, new startups, new AI driven. Today, a lot of startups are coming up with a lot of good solutions. They don't have the bandwidth to do these kind of large projects, but they have skill sets which can give these things. So they come up and they tell these people, and we come as a company, we look for startups or look for solutions, both national as well as international, because we have a bandwidth to do these projects, to fill these qualification requirements of the tenders. We encourage these startups or new companies who want to enter India, or new startups who have some solution and who wants to have a platform. We encourage them to come to us, showcase their product. It can go as a proof of concept for the first few clients, which we take care of. And then if it works out, then it becomes a mainstream part of some tender.
Okay. And sort of that is when you're working internally with them. Uh, Otherwise, primarily, like, okay, Maharashtra, Bihar, some of the states that you mentioned, when you are looking at India has so many states, looking at beyond the states. So, what sort of marketing campaigns, or is it purely word of mouth? How do you spread your own messaging?
So it's a two level. At one level, technology drivers like us in the company, looking into the different verticals. I'm looking after the digital transformation. We have an expert on GIS. We have an expert on smart city. So I along with them combine all the presentations and we go together to prospect our government or PSU clients, their GMIT or CIO or CTO, and we explain them what kind of products we have. So going forward, if they are coming up with something similar, so they have an awareness that this kind of product is there in the market. So during the designing of DPR or RFP, they discuss this with their clients or with their consultants, that this is something which is there in the market and it will be a good thing for us to have. Second go to market is that this software development team is looking at a lot of other areas where we can improvise our platform. So we started with a disaster incident management system. Today we have expanded it to take data from all kind of data sources, camera feeds, social media feeds like WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So in case you are on the road and you see there is an accident on the road, you click a photograph and share it that there is an accident, something needs to be done on Twitter, on Facebook or anywhere. Or you see a fire, take a photograph and say this and this building there is a fire started. So this system of ours, it captures data from these social media also. So even if the incident is reported officially, this gets translated into an incident ID unofficially into this system. So departments which use these kind of system, they will have a forewarning that X area there is a fire, so they can start a preparation before that.
Okay, great. So, if I may ask to look forward a little, maybe over the next 4 to 5 quarters. So, what are going to be your key focus areas? It can be business wise, geography wise, expansion wise, technology wise. But what are going to be the key focus areas?
Industry wise, we are today into oil and gas, power and energy. We are into the urban city, that is the smart cities and things like these. We are into telecom, uh, IT infra for healthcare and all. So next focus area for us is edtech, banking, finance, uh, agriculture is a big field in India. So the technology is moving into agriculture in a large way. So from small things like mapping of the area for their crops to all the issues that are there in that area to selling of that crop. The entire thing can come on a platform tomorrow. And a lot of companies are working towards it. So we would like to have our share of work in those areas, our expertise which we have to develop for the agri sector. In terms of market, we have our offices in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai. But due to COVID, last few years, we all know that we could not do much in these areas. So moving forward, now that the pandemic is over, or at least in the stage where it's not spreading rapidly, we are looking to expand towards these market, the Far East, the Middle East market, over a period of next say 2 or 3 quarters. In terms of increasing our client base, we have started creating an entire team of bid management. It was earlier a small team, but post COVID, we have enhanced that team a lot. They are scouting a lot of state level, central level tenders related to our keywords. So that is how we are spreading. They are also looking at tenders that are coming up international market.
So, apart from the international offices that you mentioned, how many? What's the size of the development team? What are the facilities that you have currently? How's the, if I may say, the existing infrastructure now?
The existing infrastructure is we have around 150 team size in our headquarter in Mumbai. We have around 7 or 8 people in Delhi who are looking after the government projects and discussions with the key officials here. And inside the projects that we are doing, so we will be having something around 50 to 60 resources at deployed at the site for operation maintenance of those projects.
Okay, and of the new verticals, you explained the use cases of the agriculture one. You also mentioned banking and finance. So, what sort of use cases you foresee in banking and finance?
Primarily the digital transformation, because most banks have uh, like most organized sectors which got computerized say in the 90s. Today they have softwares ranging from 1990s legacy to a modern software of today's generation. And that too, the hardwares are also like that. So old hardware, new hardware, and all. So if they have to do a complete transformation, they will require it at each and every layer, including their human resource. It has to be culturally adopted. So when it comes to these sectors, we are also planning to have a complete team of uh, digital transformation or trainers who tell the clients and their key people that why such a system will be useful. Today they may not be very happy to adopt some system, but if we can explain them why it is good, the culture of the company is very important today to adapt to the system, because earlier it was just say one computer or one laptop in front of you. Today the digital is laptop, a tab, a mobile, everything is digital. People are sending official email, people are sending official documentation over WhatsApp. So the very premise of the digital has changed. It's not that only email is official or only a hard copy with sign and stamp is official. A WhatsApp document is also treated as official today. So these are cultural change which everybody needs to do.
Thanks a lot for your time. That was very insightful. Uh, Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bay.
Thank
Hope to
you.
catch you up again sometime soon. Take care.
Sure. Thank you.